Let's say Trump wins the election in 2024. This movie asks the question, is this what will happen? But it's not saying this is what will happen, but at the same time, it's not saying this is about Trump. See, because this movie is not picking sides and you, the audience, don't know which team you are on or should be on, and it doesn't even matter at that point. Look, don't worry. This movie is not one of those woke movies. It's more of a hypothetical, a scary hypothetical at that.
You don't know?
Americans, please get your act together. Please. Civil War does not pick a side on purpose and does not attempt to tell us how things got out of hand so horribly. The movie does not want the audience to start siding with any political inclinations so as to avoid anyone actually identifying with any sides. All the movie requests of us is to objectively observe the chaos like the war photojournalist we involuntarily are. If a civil war were to be declared in America, we are so screwed, and the chain reaction will be felt all around the world. Civil War is a 2024 dystopian war film written and directed by Alex Garland. The film stars Kirsten Dunst, Wagner Moura, Kylie Spaney, Stephen McKinley Henderson, and Nick Offerman. Now, for those of you who for some reason don't know who Kirsten Dunst is, she is the original big screen Mary Jane in 2002 Spider-Man. In this movie, Kirsten's character Lee is a skilled photojournalist strongly based on Lee Miller, an American photographer and photojournalist. She was also a fashion model in the 1920s, and in World War II she was a war correspondent and was celebrated for her shocking and stunning images of war. Lee Miller is also famous for a photo of her in Hitler's bathtub, but I digress. Now back to the other castmates. Wagner Moura is the guy who played Pablo Escobar in Narcos on Netflix, and of course Kylie Spaney is the young lady who played Priscilla in the movie Priscilla. Now you're pretty much up to speed. In January 2022, it was reported that Alex Garland had signed on to write and direct Civil War for A24. Alex Garland is the director who brought us the movie Annihilation, Men, and my all-time favorite movie, Ex Machina. The production budget for Civil War was $50 million, making this A24 most expensive film to date. And if you're an aspiring filmmaker, you might like to know this movie was shot on the prosumer DJI Ronin 4D. It's not a conventional type of camera that is used to make movies in the cinema, but it's so good, you can't tell the difference. And that's pretty exciting for anyone who wants to take up filmmaking. Not like it matters. As far as the story is good, no one cares. Garland describes this film as a companion piece to his 2022 film, Men, and said it is set at an indeterminate point in the future, just far enough ahead for me to add a conceit, and serves as a sci-fi allegory for our current polarized predicament. In the movie, Nick Offerman plays the President of the United States, portrayed as an authoritarian and fascist leader serving his self-appointed third term. The movie itself doesn't explain what happened for the predicament we find ourselves thrown into, but it doesn't have to. It's not about politics, it's about the terrible possibilities of what humans will do when they're pushed to their limits. The president has called his troops to launch airstrikes against American citizens, with Americans attacking one another relentlessly, and the country has descended into poverty and lawlessness. We follow the journey of 4 journalists traveling through the treacherous road from New York to Washington to capture an interview with the president. Jesse, played by Kylie Spaney, a novice and surprising addition to the group. As we join them on this road trip, we see the banality of violence and the impact the Civil War has had on America through the eyes of these journalists. The cinematographer Rob Hardy did a great job putting these visuals together. It's interesting to know this movie was filmed in chronological order, which is pretty rare, so the cast all followed the same journey we did during filming. Now for the pros and cons, starting with cons. Con number 1. Jessie, the youngest photojournalist, she uses a film camera, and I feel like this is incredibly inefficient. Most of her photos are gonna end up blurry anyway, not to mention she has to go into a dark room to develop the photos. It just doesn't make sense whatsoever. She actually had an iPhone. There was an iPhone, she scanned the bloody thing through an iPhone. Makes no sense. Sure, I know about the fact that Alex Garland made her use a film camera as an ode to the old school photojournalists in the 1970s, but I don't care. Don't introduce an iPhone into your movie if you don't want me to logically talk about it. Because I will. And I am. right now in this video. Con number 2. While we're on the topic of young, annoying people, Jessie, she annoys the crap out of me. She's so irresponsible, very selfish. That character reminded me why I dislike anyone below the age of 30. I'm sorry, but at the same time, I'm not sorry. They're little shits. Con number 3. Jesse Plemons' appearance in this film was almost like a cameo. His screen time just wasn't enough. I just want to see more Plemons because that guy really delivered. And now for the pros. Pro number 1. The cast. Everyone in this film was well cast. Kirsten Dunst and her subtle but clear existential crisis, Wagner Moura's cheekiness, and even Kylie Spiney. Even though I found her character really annoying, she did a great job, which tells me that she's a fantastic actor and we should probably see her in the future doing more amazing things. Pro number 2. Jesse Plemons' role was tiny, but it made a very big bang. Despite the role being so tiny, it had such a large impact. Many people know this movie from just this one clip.
What? Well, you're American, okay? Okay. What kind of American are you?
Not many actors would put their hands up to play that racist role, and Jesse did so as a favor to his wife, Kirsten Dunst, and boy was I glad he did, because that guy is fantastically terrifying to observe. He is a menace. Pro number 3. The scary thing about this movie is that it's not that hard to actually see this happening in the future. It was well written and so vague. We, the audience, put together what we choose by filling in the gaps with the current news. Pro number 4. The story is quite linear. We jump straight into depths of war with protests in Brooklyn, and then a suicide bomber, and then we jump into a road trip to Washington. The film becomes a bit of a road movie. I believe this style helped with how easy it was to follow. Pro number 5. It was shot on the DJI Ronin 4D, which I mentioned earlier is a prosumer camera accessible to everyone. You could have shot this film. Well, probably not, because it's pretty hard. Maybe you could have made a really cool YouTube video. That's something. I'm gonna go ahead and rate this movie a surprisingly insightful 9 out of 10. I thought it was gonna be a propaganda film, and in some ways, it kind of is, but it ended up being an insightful warning for a future I hope not to see. This film is a must-watch, however, I can't recommend it to everyone because the subject matter is a bit heavy at times, and oh yeah, you definitely cannot watch this film with the kids around. And if you're someone who is a staunch, hardcore patriot to your country or to your political party, who will always stick by their team or side no matter what they do, good or bad, when you watch this film, you may see yourself and your side at some point, and then this movie becomes a propaganda machine in some ways, and that might annoy you. And that right there is my 2 cents. If this video brought you any value whatsoever, please like and consider subscribing. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.